When you think of a trumpet and organ duo that plays concerts, you might think that they're going to play classical music like Bach and Handel and Vivaldi. Well, they will, but they'll also do this. You'll hear some patriotic music, and you will even hear Freddie Mercury's Bohemian Rhapsody. What? It's not the kind of concert that you would expect. Explain what people will see when they come to the concert on Sunday, or if they see a concert down the road that you guys are doing. It's not just a kind of a stiff performance. You guys really get into it. There's a little bit more than trumpet and organ.
We don't want to come out and do an academic recital. We can, and we have many times, but we like to really come up with a great mix of styles for our concerts, and we have, in addition to traditional literature, spent a lot of time over the last 3 years or so arranging ourselves and working with arrangers to come up with some really unique and wide-ranging styles of things that we like to do.
The thing that we found as a special connection to audience is our use of videos that we perform to in our programs. That is our niche, trying to make us different other than our, I think, really great and entertaining programs we do. Audiences seem to really enjoy that. One of those things that we do as a tribute to veterans is a sequence of an Arlington National Cemetery funeral. It's a very powerful video, and many people have not seen that. We do uplifting things as well, funny things. I have a Carnival of Venice little shtick thing that I do with six different trumpets and acrobatics that happen as well. And we have some silent movies that we play our music to. So we're just trying to cover all bases to make an entertaining and also very musical program.
Welcome to St. Louis in Tune with Arnold Stricker and Mark Langston, where we size up current and historic events involving people, places, and things in areas such as the arts, crime, education, employment, faith, finance, food, health, history, housing, humor, justice, and sports. Our weekly podcast originates from and connects the gateway city to our country's current cultural fabric and lives. We have something very special here. Now, while they're not in studio, the Seipp, Sheets-trumpet, and organ duo, they're kind of like unlike any ensemble today. I saw them a couple years ago. Matter of fact, they're very entertaining. They're humorous, and you can hear the kind of music that they play. They also play popular music. This is a trumpet and an organ.
This is two people?
Two people.
Oh, my.
So Chuck Seipp, Dr. Charles Seipp, who's a former Army musician, U.S. Army.
Wow.
He's the trumpet player. And Dr. Randall Sheets, who's the ceremonial organist for Arlington National Cemetery, was the organist. And we've got Chuck and Randy on the line.
Wow.
Guys, good morning.
Good morning. We're thrilled to be with you, Arnold and Mark.
Oh, thank you.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Now, there's a disclaimer here.
Wow.
Chuck and I were roommates at the University of Kansas for many years.
Why? What? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Because we had to do that. I've watched his career, and he's taken off phenomenally over the course of time. And when I heard him a couple years ago and saw the program, another roommate was sitting next to us, and I said, I don't believe his program is, I don't think it's ambitious enough. and it was a crazy program.
Wow.
Chuck, how many hours a day you practice now, dude?
Oh, probably 4 to 5 hours every day. It's just kind of what it takes to keep the trumpet in line so I can relax and enjoy my time performing. And for everybody, it's probably a little bit different, but that's what it takes for me anyway. Yeah, it's a labor of love.
I would say.
It is. And Randy, you can't haul those organs around all the time. It gets a little heavy, dragging those things behind you. How do you keep up when you're on the road?
There are a lot of similarities between pipe organs. They each have certain stops that look the same on paper, and the operation of a pipe organ is generally about the same from organ to organ, but the variance between them is very dramatic as well, of course, based on the size and of the organs and the rooms and the acoustics and everything else. But it's a treat to get to hear and play as many different organs around the country as we do. It's a treat and an education.
I bet. And folks, we're doing this because Sunday, October the 3rd at 4 p.m., they're performing at Second Presbyterian Church on Westminster. And if you want seats, you need to make some reservations.
Oh, boy.
And you can call 314-367-0366, leave a message for Andrew, or you can also send an email to music@secondchurch.net.
Can I give that number again?
Absolutely.
He does it so fast, guys. 314, because I think it's going to be an exciting time.
It is.
367-0366. Call.
Now, guys, give a little background more than what I gave at the front end, Chuck and Randy, and you guys can just go from there. Give us a little history of what you've done in your background.
Hey, yeah, like you said, Arnold, we were roommates at the University of Kansas, and you were always an inspiration to me. You were principal clarinet, and wow, just to hear you play, but to also room with you, you helped me grow up. So you were a great influence. But I was fortunate enough to win a position with the United States Army Band in Washington, D.C., and then I spent a 32-year career there, and I've been retired 8 or 9 years from that and just having a lot of fun performing and playing. Of course, in the Army Band, we had a lot of highlights, which traveling around the country and in some cases around the world and for events and the backdrop of historical events. So very fortunate to have a unique career like that. But also what was very special was performing for funerals in Arlington National Cemetery. A very meaningful career.
So when you say that, you're talking playing taps at like Tomb of the Unknown and also at burials.
That's correct. Yeah, thousands of times I've played taps over my career.
Wow.
So
Wow.
very special. Yes.
Randy, how
I
about...
came to the Washington, D.C. area to do graduate work at the University of Maryland, and like many graduates do, ended up staying in the area. And I was fortunate enough 25 years ago to become the organist at Arlington National Cemetery and work at the Old Post Chapel where our funeral services take place before the burials. And it's been a great honor to be a part of that, of Arlington National Cemetery and honoring veterans. And in the chapel, we 4 chapel services every day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks of the year. The cemetery never closes. Even if the government shuts down, the cemetery is always open if families are scheduled and they can get there, and then their service will take place. And it's just been a very, very interesting and exciting way to use my skills as a keyboardist and an organist in a situation like Arlington National Cemetery.
Very appreciative that you are doing that and
yeah.
have done that. I'm sure that's very comforting to families.
It's been very rewarding, and the great reward is working with the families and seeing their appreciation, and it is very meaningful.
So are there some memorable moments or highlights, Randy, that you can share with us, being the organist at Arlington, or throughout your career?
I would have to say, even though we have had some really high-level people that we've had services for, like John Glenn and Supreme Court justices and astronauts, every service we do with the same degree of care and meaning. And that's one of the fun, interesting things about my job, even after all of these years. Every day is just like it's like a new day. It's because every service is for a different family and honoring a different veteran, and you have to treat them all as if they're special, which they are.
I appreciate that very much.
Oh, yeah. Our family was just in Washington, D.C., and we spent the whole day at Arlington going around. And to see...
It's an amazing place. I always tell people that even without thinking about what it's about and what it means, it's just one of the most beautiful 675 acres,
right,
I think, in the country, the way it sits on the banks of the Potomac River, overlooking the Potomac River in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, what history of our nation is there, and you're overwhelmed by the sacrifice that so many have given for our nation.
For sure.
And the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, if you've never been there, we've been there a couple of times now. It's just remarkable. It just stops you in your tracks. And I guess, Randall, you don't go out into the cemetery itself because of your organ.
That's right. When we're doing a full honor service, the various bands, if it was the Army Band, occasionally Chuck would be playing with them, and they might be out in front of the chapel playing in the beginning and at the end, and then, of course, leading the procession into the cemetery. But my work is strictly in the chapel.
Gotcha. Yeah, we were able to experience some graveside bands that came out with Full Honor Guard and 21 Gun Salute. It's just unbelievable.
It gives you a cold chill. No matter how many times you've seen this over the years,
Right.
It always gives you it's something very special.
I'm getting it right now just thinking about it. Just thinking about it. And Robert Kennedy's grave, just all by itself, just off to the side. Very simple grave, right?
Oh, RFK, yeah.
Yeah, RFK.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, so good work. Good. Bless you
Now, I
for
will
doing
say on the fun side, we've gotten a little somber and serious here, but on the fun side, Chuck and I met very soon after I got there 25 years ago because the Army Band is right across the street from the chapel. Oh. And Chuck is very good at making himself the organist around the Washington, D.C. area. And he was kind enough to introduce himself to me, and we've played so many weddings over the years and just had a ball doing that.
I was going to ask how you guys met.
So you guys play the Macarena when nobody's around?
We try to please them within certain guidelines.
It's funny because it was a joke in our family because the reason why I was outgoing to meet as many organists as possible in D.C. is because when we started having a family and my wife stayed home with the kids, the gigging on the outside was instrumental in that. So we'd always have a joke with the family is no matter whether we had to buy shoes or go on a family vacation or whatever it was, hey, Chuck, it's just another wedding. Playing for weddings was an income that I depended on. And so I have a lot of good organist friends, and that's helped our family out over the years. And of course, Randy was instrumental in that too. So he helped buy a lot of shoes for our family.
That's great. So Chuck, say a couple things about things that happened in your career. I know you played for every president from Ronald Reagan to Barack Obama. Wow.
That's correct, and for a good part of that, I was part of the Herald Trumpet. So obviously we did inaugural parades. The Army Band led every inaugural parade. We were the first one out of the chute, and for those days. And then Herald Trumpets playing for the president at the White House or wherever they happen to be, and traveling around the country. I did a lot of performances with the Army Brass Quintet, and arranged a lot of music for them. And things grew from that, and reputation as far as an arranger and things. And then, of course, Randy and I have done some arranging for our duo as well. So after we decided, after we played several weddings together for many years in church services, we decided, hey, I think before I retired from the Army Band, we played a concert. And then after I retired, I thought, that was a lot of fun. Maybe we should do another concert or two. And then it grew from there to where we're playing about 25 concerts a year all over the country. So it's really grown, and we've just had a ball right now. We're on a little tour the first time out since March of last year. So it's really, this is what we love to do, and finally are getting the opportunity to get out and do that. But I've been very fortunate to surround myself with fabulous musicians, starting at Kansas University to the Army Band to now with my buddy here, Randy, on the organ. So we are having a blast.
And the publishing thing has really taken off. You've done a boatload of arrangements and have a book out on trumpet and organ for weddings, and that seems to have really captured a lot of people.
The wedding book took off, just like I said, from doing so many weddings, and then that was kind of my connection to do some touring with Diane Bish, who is a very famous organist that travels around the world, and so that was a great connection. Not only did I travel with her, but she came to D.C. twice, and the Army Quintet recorded with her, so that was a wonderful experience. So yeah, I've been really fortunate to be surrounded by great people, which helps elevate you, of course, and makes you a better musician. Yeah, I'm really, really lucky.
So explain what people will see when they come to the concert on Sunday, or if they see a concert down the road that you guys are doing. It's not just a kind of a stiff performance. You guys really get into it. There's a little bit more than trumpet and organ.
Fireworks? No.
Almost.
Almost fireworks? Okay.
Believe it or not, there are some. They're not live, but you will see fireworks on Sunday at our concert. Okay. Chuck and I very consciously we don't want to come out and do an academic recital that you might hear as a graduating student.
We can.
We can, and we have many times. But we like to really come up with a great mix of styles for our concerts, and we have, in addition to traditional literature, spent a lot of time over the last 3 years or so arranging ourselves and working with arrangers to come up with some really unique and wide-ranging styles of things that we like to do. So, Chuck, tell them about the other added thing that is a little bit unusual about us.
The thing that we found as a special connection to audience is our use of videos that we perform to in our programs. That is our niche, trying to make us different than other than our, I think, really great and entertaining programs we do, but the connection of videos. So I'd say about 75% of our literature that we have that we perform for, and maybe even more, has a video that we perform to. And audiences seem to really enjoy that. Of course, it takes, not only do we have to have our music down so well, but we have to have it coordinated so it fits perfectly with the videos, and that brings another dynamic to it. But when it comes off really smoothly, I think it's really effective. Of course, because of our background with Randy being involved with funerals every day at Arlington and my military background, we take it upon ourselves to do a lot of patriotic music. And one of those things that we do as a tribute to veterans is a sequence of an Arlington National Cemetery funeral. And it basically takes you from the beginning, that chapel that brings together the chaplain, the ceremonial organist, the soldiers of the Old Guard, the horse-drawn caisson, the United States Army Band, and the bugler, and take you from beginning to end of a sequence. And it's a very powerful video. And many people have not seen that. We obviously do other things too, but that's often an emotional time for a lot of people. And we do uplifting things as well, funny things. I have a Carnival of Venice little shtick thing that I do with six different trumpets and acrobatics that happen as well. And we have some silent movies that we play our music to that's really brilliantly arranged, and something like Toccata and Fugue that will have scary silent movies too that are fun. And Vivaldi Spring that's got the videos go perfectly with the music and the sonnets or the poems that go along with it. And so we're just trying to cover all bases to make an entertaining and also very musical program.
You know, that was a great way to put that, an entertaining and a very musical-oriented program, because it is. It's very educational because you're playing a lot of good standard literature. Like, I'm a clarinet player, not a trumpet player, but I remember you playing a lot of this stuff in the practice room. And it's not like you are sitting in a recital hall and watching people do a recital. It is very engaging. And it's also, you get involved with what's going on. Now, how's this going to work with the organ being in the back of the sanctuary on this particular concert and program that you're going to do on?
We will have a video, a screen in the front, and the videos will be, the congregation, the audience will be able to see the videos that we're talking about very easily. And if we are doing something that doesn't involve video, Chuck has very kindly put together a little camera setup for us so that the audience will not have to turn around. They can actually see my hands and feet on the organ as they're playing. And it just, even with an organ in the back, we make it very comfortable, I think, for people to enjoy what we're doing.
So it'll be the organ and then the trumpet cam?
Yeah. Something like that.
Wow. Now, how many times, Randy, has that happened where the organ's in the back?
That it's happened not as frequently, but we made sure that when we do have those times that we put the movie camera on us in the balcony so people can see us. And there lots of times people are not fully understand what the organist really does with his hands and feet, and so it's really fun. There are a couple of pieces we are coming down front with to play with piano, so they'll get to see us up close without looking at the screen.
Wow.
So I want to play kind of a little clip here. I'm getting off my script with our engineer here, but wanted to give this to you. He's wondering what number I'm going to hold up. I'm going to hang on that, Derek. Randy, what I'd like to do is get into a conversation with you about some of the unique features of organs and what distinguishes different organs. It's not like it's the mighty Wurlitzer or
Hammond B3.
A Hammond B3, which is a great organ, or a Fender Rhodes piano, which is a quasi organ. And then get into that. And then, Chuck, I want you to talk about, and this will probably be after the break, I want you to talk about your philosophy of performance, because you made a great statement to the students at Texas Tech, where you were a visiting assistant professor of trumpet, that I thought was very enlightening to them. It should have been. And it was very true, because we know trumpet players, when we were in school, it was always higher, faster. But there's more. I'm sure you're laughing.
There's more to
There's
that
more
than that?
than higher, faster, louder. And he's going to explain that.
All right.
But we're going to take an early break here for Derek. So he's going to close out with this a little bit. And he's looking for that right now. And then I'm going to continue to read some more information. So the Seipp-trumpet duo is going to be, trumpet and organ duo is going to be performing at the Second Presbyterian Church in St. Louis this Sunday, October 3rd at 4 p.m., 4501 Westminster Place. And you need to call for tickets, 314-367-0366. Leave a message for Andrew, or you can email at music@secondchurch.net. So check that out. Also, I did find out the concert's supposed to be streamed. So if you can't get there, or there's too many people, they have to have a limited seating, then you can stream it, okay?
Really?
That'd be a good way to do that.
Oh, yeah.
So guys, we'll be back after the break, okay?
Sounds
Thank
great.
you.
Listeners, if you want to get that in person, you need to show up at the Second Presbyterian Church in St. Louis, October 3rd at 4 p.m., 4501 Westminster Place. Call 314-367-0366 for tickets. And you were listening to Dr. Chuck Seipp on trumpet and Dr. Randall Sheets.
He's rolling his R's on that trumpet. It's wow.
Guys, I'm impressed every time I listen to stuff.
Well done.
And watch your videos. Some of the things that are going to be on the program, we've got George Friedrich Handel's going to be playing. He's not going to be playing, but they're going to be playing his music.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going to be there. He's coming up out of the grave.
Yeah, okay.
Vivaldi, Toccata and Fugue, Mussorgsky's Pictures at an Exhibition. There's a couple other special kinds of things, including something from somebody called Freddie Mercury.
Whoa. Cut it out. Wow.
And it deals with the word that was in that song we just heard.
Oh, the word.
A word of that song we just heard.
Okay, you got me.
There's a link there. That was Rhapsody in Blue.
Okay. Oh.
And the Freddie Mercury song is going to be
the Rhapsody song, right?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian.
Yeah.
Bohemian. It's early still.
Guys, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Randy, talk to us a little bit about organs and what's the unique features of different ones.
Oh, wait. Organs have got me amazed. First of all, they can make sounds that they shouldn't make, I think. They make sounds.
Only on the good ones, right?
Yeah, they are good ones. And then how you play with your feet, I don't get that at all. I don't know. It's hard enough for me to walk and chew gum. I do play the tickle the iris a little bit. It's hard for me to get my left hand and my right hand going. But I can't imagine throwing feet in there. So that's all. That's all I got to add.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. What a talent.
I have to say I was a pretty good pianist in high school before I started studying organ, and that first year at the organ was very tough to get the feet to learn how to behave like a third hand. You work through it, and eventually practice can bring you a long way.
Yeah, it does.
So in terms of the unique feature about organ, one of the fun things, I'm sometimes jealous of people like Chuck he's got his trumpets fine-tuned and he knows exactly what they're going to do, and he works with them every day. Of course, when we do a concert, I have not seen the organ that we will be playing on, and it takes several hours. We typically allow about 4 to 5 hours for me to get to know an instrument and to know what its capabilities are, what its sounds are, and then beyond that to figure out how we can set registrations that will enable us to play a wide variety of music over the course of an hour and 15 or 20 minutes, and it's a lot of fun. It's sometimes very challenging depending on the organs. A lot of times we'll have what they call general pistons, so I can set up if I want to come up with 4 different sound palettes, for instance, for a particular piece, I can set those up in advance so that the changes can be made by just pressing a single button on the general piston. However, there are older organs, smaller organs, tracker organs that do not have that capability, and it becomes a little bit more difficult to make quick registration or sound color changes. And these are just things that you learn to do how to manipulate. The organs can have anywhere from 2 manuals to sometimes 4 or 5 manuals. And, of course, anywhere from a small organ might have about 2,000 pipes to a larger organ maybe having 6,000 or 8,000 pipes. Oh. The acoustic in the room comes into play. So it's a wide variety of things. It's a very interesting instrument. I think the last thing I'll say about it is that my job is to make a machine, a mechanical instrument, sound musical.
Yes.
So that's the task at hand. Is you're trying to make something that's mechanical sound musical. And if you can do that, I think you've succeeded.
And bravo.
He definitely succeeds. I can guarantee you that. It's just like Randy is such an amazing musician, whether he's at the organ or the piano, but he makes it sound like a symphony orchestra, and each piece is totally different and with what he comes up with sounds. And often people will say, I didn't know the organ could sound like that. And that's because he's so good at it, and that's why it takes 5 hours to do what he has to do on the organ to prepare for a concert. So he's pretty amazing.
And bravo for that. I can't imagine taking. It seems like such a cold instrument to me. To try it with the trumpet, or a guitar, you can stretch the strings and things like that. But the organ and the piano, trying to get that feeling out of that cold key you can push the key hard or soft but it just seems to me what a very hard instrument to play, to get that feeling, that soul from it. But boy, when you do. It's
an interesting thing to think about, but the piano and the organ, the layperson might look at that and say, hey, but they've both got black keys and white keys. It looks fairly similar. The organ has a bunch of buttons and it has some pedals, but the way you produce the sound on each instrument is completely different,
right.
Just worlds apart. And if, like you say, on the piano, you control the sound by the adjustments you make with weight and speed, but with the organ, it's all mechanical. You have to come up with the color changes by the different stops or the different kinds of pipes that you combine and the way you use them. And organs do have an expression mechanism which allows sometimes different divisions of the organ would be different sets of pipes would be enclosed in a box, essentially. And it has shades that can be opened and closed to various degrees. So even a mechanical pipe organ, you can do a crescendo and a decrescendo if that particular division of the organ is under expression. So it's just a wide array of means of making music that you learn. And I will say that over the last 5 years, as Chuck and I have been doing about 75 concerts around the country, you learn to appreciate the different organs and you learn to adjust more quickly. And it's been a great education and just a lot of fun to see these great organs in great churches and spaces around the country.
Now, Randy, are there organ companies still going? I think in Lawrence there used to be an organ company, a maker. They would construct organs. Are there still some organ makers around?
Some very fine organ builders around the country. And yeah, the organ is about the oldest instrument in the world, believe it or not. Think about what were probably the first things that early man did to make music. We sang. It's our voice. What after that? They blew into something, maybe a bamboo pipe, for instance, a bamboo reed or some sort. Air blowing through a pipe is essentially one of the earliest musical expressions that man came up with. And that's what an organ is. It's air blowing through pipes. So very closely related to the voice. What's our voice? Moving through our pipes, our voice boxes. So it's primal in a way, the organ, in that regard. So we like to think of the organ as being a very important part of early musical history. And before the invention of the airplane, organists sometimes like to remind people that it was generally considered to be the most complex invention of man.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Because with several thousand pipes and all of the moving parts that you have to make those pipes operate, it's a very complex mechanical instrument.
And before electricity, it was all done.
And before electricity, that air was provided by bellows, much like a bellows that you might use at your grandmother, when you were maybe in your grandmother's fireplace when you were growing up. There were the old bellows that you could open and close to produce air. In order to play in the early days, 500 years ago, you would also have to have another fellow over there manning the blowers to get the air into the pipes to get them to sound when you press the key. So a fascinating history of the pipe organ.
You made sure that guy was paid well.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and he didn't fall asleep or drink too much or something like that. You got to keep those bellows moving, or the sounds do stop.
Funny.
Hey, Chuck, you made a comment when you were working down at Texas Tech, and I'm going to read it here. One thing trumpet players do very well is play like trumpet players. One thing that trumpet players don't do very well is play like musicians. Explain that.
Wow.
I understand what you're saying, but explain that and how you came about to getting to that point in your trumpet playing career.
Yeah, and for some, trumpet is mechanically a challenging instrument to play. At least I think so. And so there's fundamentals that you have to do to get yourself to the level of ability that you can play notes and make and then attempt to make music. And so it's often the act of just trying to make the sound to get to play the notes on the page. The job of any musician is to make those notes come alive and be music. And so trumpet players have a hurdle to get over to make those notes come alive to make music. And it seems like when you're focused on making the music, the trumpet playing becomes easier. And so it's a win-win. It's just a hurdle that's tough for trumpet players to get over. If you're not trying to make music, and sometimes you think you are, but you're not necessarily doing it, which is why we record ourselves so much to see, well, are we really doing what we're trying to say? And the more I just think about making a musical phrase with as much expression as possible, I'm just thinking about breathing, taking a good breath, and making music, taking my next breath and making music. Then it's easier and more enjoyable for the performer and hopefully for the listener as well.
And that's getting all the technique and the technical aspect out of the way so you can actually understand a little bit about what the composer is trying to, because if you're struggling with
Yeah.
notes or some of the technical kinds of things, you really can't get into the music and enjoy it yourself as a performer.
The joy of music. It's nice when it can be joyful by all.
It's not a struggle.
No.
But it is a challenge to get to that level of, wow, I've got all these scales and all these patterns under my fingers. And you actually then translate that to 5 other instruments. And as you said, 5 other trumpets. And as you said to some of the folks down there at Texas Tech, they look at a little piccolo trumpet and they think, oh, that's a little toy. That ought to be simple to play. When in essence, I'll let you finish that.
The piccolo trumpet, the littlest one, makes me the most red in the face because you're still playing you use that for the Baroque music, the high music, and so you still have to play up high, but make it sound like it's not hard. So there's a little trickery that has to go on mentally, and a lot of practice. Like, how do you get to Carnegie Hall?
A lot of
practice,
right,
but.
Right.
Also, make it sound like it's a musical instrument instead of a toy. So
Right.
You're basically singing with whatever you have in your hands.
And it's a lot of back pressure, more back pressure on the piccolo than the regular B-flat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it takes just as much air, if not more.
Yeah. Yeah. And trying to relax while doing that. So.
Well, and I know because you practice 5-6 hours a day and you've been doing that, you were doing that when we were in school. You were really getting onto it near the end when you were getting ready to graduate. And
yeah, just trying to keep up with everybody there. What a perfect storm that was, Kansas University, with all the folks that were there. It was an inspiration. If you weren't in the practice room doing it, then, you weren't going to fit in with everyone else there. So it was a wonderful experience for sure.
Now, guys, as I close the interview, I want you to, Randy and Chuck, both in your own unique way and for the instrument, give some advice to budding organists or somebody who's struggling to make that transition, Randy, from piano to organ. And then, Chuck, you do the same thing about how to overcome some of the roadblocks that many times are put that musicians have to jump over to get to the next level. Okay? We'll start with you, Randy.
I think with all instruments, it's really the same. It starts with the desire to be a musician, and I think you acquire that through listening, through attending concerts, through trying to work, as Chuck implied a minute ago, is trying to work with the best people possible. You always want to be around and working with people that are better than you, that you can learn from, that can inspire you. And there are no shortcuts. If you're trying to get to the end and omit some of the steps in the middle, it's never going to work. And so I think the main thing is just desire and the grit to stay with it if you really want to do it, and to try to always listen as much as you can to as many different people as you can and find the best teachers you can find. But it all boils down to commitment in terms of that daily commitment to get up and to work, to make it a part of your life.
Discipline.
Discipline's a good word, yeah. Chuck, what do you think?
The Olympics is a perfect example of the dedication that it takes of an athlete. I think musicians are just the same, of the great performers that are out there performing, the amount of dedication that it takes. It's their life's dedication to get to a point where they can hopefully peak at the right time when it counts the most. We're trying to peak at the right time when we're performing, and it just takes more work than probably what most people ever realize. We're playing our instruments. We get to a point where we can go out and perform and really enjoy what we're doing, and that there's just like preparing for the Olympics. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and you have to be very fortunate, but you have to do the work and never take for granted the amount of dedication that it takes to get to that point.
And I think it's also a desire to always get better. You've heard the adage that if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward, and that really is true with music.
I agree with that, guys. I appreciate so much you coming on and talking to us about what you're going to be doing on Sunday, and the fact that you've been doing this. It's a labor of love, and a lot of that labor has gone under the bridge, and you're enjoying the love of it now because you've devoted that time and that discipline, like both of you have said. So Sunday, folks, Second Presbyterian Church. For tickets, call 314-367-0366. Chuck Seipp and Randy Sheets, thanks for coming on St. Louis in Tune. We greatly appreciate it.
Appreciate your talents.
Thank you so much, Arnold.
Arnold and Mark, you're great. We really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you, my friend.
Look forward to seeing you Sunday.
Same here.
Alrighty.
Bye-bye. We appreciate you listening to this episode of St. Louis in Tune. Take time to look at the show notes on the website for everything that was mentioned on this episode. St. Louis in Tune is produced in cooperation with KWRH 92.9 FM and Motif Media Group. For St. Louis in Tune, I'm Arnold Stricker.